This is 10.7 Part 2, Complex Numbers. And today the objective we're doing in 10.7 is to multiply complex numbers. In the next section we're going to do objectives 4 and 5, which is divide and simplify with powers of I. But today we're just going to do multiplying. And you have the imaginary unit I that we talked about in Part 1. And it says the imaginary unit I is defined as I equals the square root of -1, where I squared equals -1. And this is the part that we're going to use more today. Actually, we're going to use both parts, but we didn't use this much in Part 1, but we're going to use it today in Part 2. The fact that I squared is a -1. So let's look at the first example. And we are multiplying. It says find the products for 4i times 3 minus 5i. And this is distributing, of course. And so you're going to take 4i times 3. Well, 4i times 3, we can do that. You're going to treat the I like it's a variable for right now, like it's a normal x. And so you could multiply the 4 and the 3, and that would give us 12i. And then we're going to take 4i times 5i, and again, you treat the i's like it's variables, it's times -5i, so it'd be -20, 5 times 4 is 20, I squared. And here's where we treat I a little different. The difference between a regular variable squared and an I squared is we know up here I squared equals -1. So I can substitute that in. 12i minus 20, and this would be 20 times I squared, so it would be 20 times -1. And what 20 times -1, what we get when we do that is when you multiply by a -1, you just change the sign. So we got 12i plus 20. Now the -1 goes away because we got -20 times -1, that's plus 20. The last thing is we have to write it into complex number, the form for complex number, which is a plus bi, which means the real part has to go first, the 20, plus the imaginary part, plus 12i. And that's our final answer for example A, or example 3a. Example 3b, you're going to FOIL. We're going to take 7 times a -2. That's -14. And then 7 times a -5i, that's going to be a -35i. And then -3i times a -2, that is a positive, because a negative times a negative is a positive, 6i. And a -3i times a -5i, a negative times a negative makes a positive again. 3 times 5 is 15, and I times I is I squared. Let me fix my 15 here. So 15i squared. So that's what this thing equals. So now we can combine like terms and we can change our I squared to a -1. So we start with it. We got a -14. We've got these two terms right here. We can combine. -35i plus 6i is going to be -29i plus 15 times a -1 if we change our I squared into a -1, which really makes a -15. -14 minus 29i minus 15. If we combine the -14 and the -15, we get -29i, nope, just -29 minus 29i. And that's their answer for part B. Pause here, try your checkpoint. When you come back, I'll give you the answer. Okay, checkpoint 3. The answer to that is 54, part A, sorry, checkpoint 3, part A, 54 plus 14i. And checkpoint 3, part B, 58 minus 11i. Let's look at the next page, do the next problem. Example 4. You have multiply negative square root of 3 times negative square root of 5. And the first rule of this, when you have the square roots, is you have to take care of the negatives first. And so we're going to pull out the I from each one. And so what we get is I square root of 3 times I square root of 5. Let me fix my 3 here. I square root of 3 times I square root of 5. And now when we multiply them, we're going to multiply the two i's in front. That's going to give us I squared. And we're going to multiply the 3 times the 5. That's going to be the square root of 15. And I squared is negative 1. So negative 1 times square root of 15 is the same as negative square root of 15. And that's our answer for example 4. Pause here. Try your checkpoint 4. When you come back, I'll give you the answer. The answer for checkpoint 4 is negative square root of 35. I will see you in class to give you your homework.